What's up everyone, Bran here from Bloody Breakdown, and it is that time once again. It seems to be one of the more popular, reoccurring types of videos I do on this channel. Once again today we're going to be ranking a horror franchise. So you probably already know what it is since you clicked on the video and you saw the title and the thumbnail. So yes, today we're going to be ranking the 8 current Saw films in the franchise. Now, unfortunately, we learned through the methods of family court and what's going on with Tobin and Belle's divorce that there is going to be a 9th installment. I say unfortunately because what a way to hear these things, right? But as far as the 8 films we have now, this is my ranking, and once again, just my opinion, ladies and gentlemen. I want to know yours in the comments down below. Don't give me so much heat because there are a few in here that are a little different from some of the other ones that I've been seeing floating around YouTube and blogs and things of that nature. So let's waste no more time and jump right in at number 8. The bottom of the barrel here, at least as far as I'm concerned, in the Saw franchise, is Saw 5. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you may be one of the people who's heard me on occasion say that I have an issue with a lot of Part 5s in horror franchises. This is one of them. This is one of the reasons I feel this way, and I am so... I feel a little awkward going into 5th entries of horror franchises because I've been so dirty and done so dirty in the past with Halloween and Nightmare 5 and Friday 5, and this one's no different, like I say. A lot of the issue with this film is it is a transitional period in the franchise going from Jigsaw as the main antagonist to Hoffman. And whereas I think Hoffman was a good antagonist eventually, he really got badass in 6 and 7. This one was an odd transition for me. Now, there are a couple of kills in this movie. It is the Saw franchise, so you got to talk about the crazy traps and kills. There's some pretty good kills in this movie. I do like the way they kind of bring in more backstory with Hoffman and, you know, what he was doing to get even with the man who murdered his sister, and how that's eventually going to be tracing back to him. Those seeds were planted. The dynamic between the officers in this film, Hoffman and, I can't really remember, Erickson? No, it was the other guy. I can't really remember his name off top, his character's name. But that was pretty good. Other than that, this kind of seems like a bland Saw entry. It's not that I really hate this movie, it's just that if you're looking at the entire franchise, this one sticks out to me as a sore thumb, as nothing really happened. There wasn't even really a spectacular, cool twist ending like we had gotten 1 through 4. So yeah, this one just kind of sticks out as not really effective. Coming in at number 7 is the newest, at the making of this video, the newest entry into the franchise, that being Jigsaw. Now, once again, same with 5. I don't really dislike this film. I think that it was a new Saw for a somewhat new generation. I appreciate the fact that they kind of left it out in the open, like, is John Kramer back? Is Saw going into the supernatural now, or is this just another way that we can flash back and kind of play some trickery with you by doing that? And, you know, I guess if you've seen this, or maybe I should just say spoiler alert, it's the latter, because the Saw franchise really hasn't dabbled in the supernatural, so to speak. So I was glad to see that they weren't going a little too crazy with it in this one. But to be perfectly honest with you, I am not a fan of the new Jigsaw in this film. I think overall the movie was entertaining. It was pretty different than what we've come to know from the Saw franchise. I knew going in it was going to be a new, rebooted type Saw film. But I at least like to know what the fuck happened to Hoffman and Dr. Gordon. I mean, son of a bitch, give me something. But it doesn't do that, so it kind of lacks on fan service. And then on top of that, you know, I'm just not as big on the characters that we're left to believe are going to be mainstay players in this new continuing franchise as I was the old one. So, bit of a letdown, but hey, at least it's better than the 5th one. Coming in at number 6 is Saw 6. This one for me, like I said, it follows 5. Not a big fan of 5, But at least in this one, I think they correct some of the mistakes they made as far as like things you do to make a Saw film. And that's not to say you do the same thing every time. There's a formula that you can expand upon, and I think they missed out with 5 on that one. I think they did a little bit better in this one. Maybe the problem with Jigsaw is that it's a different formula now, and maybe I'm not quite aware of what they're doing. Maybe I'm not hip to it, whatever the case may be. And this one seems a little bit less bland. Let's just put it like that. I think that the trap with the insurance company is fantastic social commentary there. I think that's what really makes this one above and beyond Jigsaw and the 5th entry, at least on my list, is that I really did appreciate the social commentary with health insurance. I really like the kill at the end with the big, huge spikes and the acid coming out of them. This is the movie that gave us one of the most well-known Saw traps, and that being the merry-go-round. So I enjoyed it. But as Saw films go, I have to rank it kind of low because there's really not any huge moment that stands out to me or any big event that stands out to me as saying, yes, that is definitely one of my favorite moments, or this is one of my favorite films in the franchise. So it's 3rd from the bottom. Hey, number 6 ain't bad for number 6, right? Up at number 5 is a film that I'll probably catch a little flack for having this high because, as I understand it, a lot of people really don't like this entry, and that is Saw 3D, aka Saw the Final Chapter. This was the 7th installment, coming in at number 5 here, and I know people are going to say that this is way too high for this movie, but hey, I am a purist of the Saw franchise. I'm a fanboy of it. I love the throwbacks, I love the fan service, and everything that Jigsaw was missing is in that way of fan service, this one had. You had a core group, well, I shouldn't say a core group, but a group of survivors in this counseling session that you've seen in the last few films. The return of Dr. Gordon that we Saw fans had been clamoring for years, that we finally got, and a lot of us shit all over it. I mean, sure, I guess a lot of that has to do with the way it was managed, but in all actuality, I think they did as best a job as they possibly could have done with the circumstances that they had going on. But I love the fact that you got a guy here in this film that says, you know, he had survived a trap and he really hadn't been tested yet, so he's finally put to the test. I thought that was pretty cool. People using these stories that you're seeing in this movie to become a celebrity. And, you know, come to find out he hasn't actually even been a part of these traps the way other people have. I think this was another movie that really poured it on thick with Hoffman as a badass antagonist, even taking out Jill at the end of the film. But eventually, I guess we're left to believe that Hoffman is no more thanks to Gordon. And you know, another thing about Jigsaw, I guess why it ranks lower than this film, is even though it was a reboot, this film left a lot of questions, as most Saw films do, you know. According to DVD commentary, we see that the 2 pig mask guys with Dr. Gordon are the guys from the trap at the beginning of this film, which is never really told in the film. We don't know what becomes of Gordon after this. We don't know what becomes of Hoffman after that. So a lot of questions, but this wraps up the first I guess, story of the overall franchise up until Jigsaw. It wraps up pretty nice and neat. Not necessarily with a bow, there's still some questions. But yeah, this is fan service. I think the kills are cool, I think the story is cool, and overall, I know most people don't like this movie, but I gotta rank it at least at number 5. Alright, and coming in at number 4 is Saw 4. This is the one that happens simultaneously with 3, which is one of the big parts of the twist in the film. And to me, that was fantastic. It was the first film we were entering into it in the Saw franchise knowing that Jigsaw was dead. Knowing that, once again, like I said earlier, he's not really a supernatural being or entity, so with him being dead, where do you go? You know, not only he being dead in Jigsaw, but Amanda being dead. We didn't know anything about Hoffman until the end of this film. So I think this movie did a really good job of picking up the pieces of 3 in the department of what the fuck is gonna happen next, and putting together not only a good story for this movie, but a good story to lay out for the rest of the franchise. And I think these guys did an amazing job in this movie. The twist of Hoffman being the new apprentice, of this film happening simultaneously with 3, which is why you don't see certain characters in 3, and here you don't see certain characters you saw in 3. Fantastically done. I love the twist. I love so many things about this film, and it really was like a new beginning, so to speak. But yeah, Saw 4, number 4, I think it's pretty damn good. So coming in at number 3, and I have this in a big multi-pack, so I'll just show it to you like this, is going to be Saw 2. Now, for me, Saw 2, the first 3 films, if you're keeping track at home, which are left on this top 8, now we're in the top 3, the first 3 films are fantastic. They're really hard to beat for the rest of the franchise. I think most people kind of realize that when they click this video. But for me, Saw 2 was really awesome. The ending of the first one, you really don't get to know much about John Kramer. In this film, in Saw 2, you do learn about John Kramer. And not only do you learn a lot about John Kramer and how cool of an antagonist he is, and you know, just his voice is amazing. Tobin Bell's voice work is amazing. Just how cool and calm and collective he is as a villain, and how just, you know, not only is he that guy who's trying to teach you a lesson, but he's trying to do it a bit condescendingly. This was the movie where I fell in love with Jigsaw as a character. And this is also the film where we introduce Amanda Young as the first of many apprentices, or I guess that's how you pluralize that, apprenti? I don't fucking know. But I thought Saw 2 was a really good film. The traps were interesting in this one. They upped the ante as they do with sequels. We end up going back to the bathroom for some of that fan service from the first one. I like it. I like Donnie Wahlberg's character being introduced in this film. He'd go on until Saw 4. He was always one of my favorite characters. So for that reason, or those reasons and more, Saw 2 comes in at number 3. And we're bringing out the multi-pack again, because coming in at number 2 is Saw 3. So, Saw 3, this one to me is one that, when I first watched it, I was a bit confused through a good bit of the movie. It seemed so totally radically different, until I kind of realized while watching the movie, hey, the second one was totally radically different. And that's what this franchise, at least the first 3 in my opinion, are all about. They're the same core set of problems and issues, but the feel of the movies are very different. And this one was very different. You got a deathbed-ridden Jigsaw. You've got an Amanda trying her best to hold it together, because whereas Jigsaw isn't really much of a psychopath, Amanda Young definitely is. And the story with Jeff and his wife and their, you know, dead son, and, you know, not living for the daughter they have, and you know, just all kinds of family issues going on. If you look at some of the issues in this movie, you know, without those rose-colored glasses that everything's okay and you're watching a movie, or this is just a slasher flick, some heartstring-pulling moments in this movie. And, you know, it's the end of Jigsaw as, you know, being in the timeline on film alive. It's the end of that. It's the end of Amanda, honestly. And it is the introduction of Hoffman toward the beginning of this film. Like I said, Saw 3 is simultaneous with Saw 4 in its timeline. So, you know, just a really fantastically done film. I really appreciate some of the themes they have in this of letting go, of you know, not necessarily apologizing, but forgiving people. So there's some really interesting themes and lessons in this movie, and that's why Saw 3 is coming in at number 2. So, can you guess, based on what we've had here on this list, what is number 1? Well, on Ranked, I always try to be perfectly honest. I don't want any movie being at the top because it should be at the top. So always, if a movie has a sequel that is better, it goes at the top. But as far as this is concerned, and I'm going to pull out a different multi-pack for this one, the original is just the best. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to go with the original Saw. And this is one of my favorite films in the horror genre of all time. I thought anytime you put people in, you know, one room, or you limit your film to, let's say 90% of it in one room. Take, for example, Ryan Reynolds in Buried, or even here in Saw. I really respect a writer and a director and the actors who are in these scenes to be able to pull it off, because it's got to be incredibly hard to write or direct or act this content where you're in one room, that's what you have to work with, let's go. And that's what really drew me into the first Saw. On top of that, I love a whodunit. I love a good whodunit. That's what drew me in for Scream. And that's another one of my favorite horror films of all time. But bar none, hands down, the ending to this film, I speak of the original Saw, is amazing. I had never seen anything like it before. I really don't think we've seen anything like it since. I talk to a lot of people, and I hear a lot of people tell me that they saw the ending coming. I call bullshit. I don't believe you. I do not believe a word that comes out of your mouth after you tell me that. Even if it's true, I can't believe you, if nothing but for my own, you know, my own purposes. I thought it was a fantastic ending. I thought the movie was a slow burn, but it had enough excitement in between to keep you going, kind of like Hereditary did. So I definitely have to put the original Saw at #1, and that completes my list, ladies and gentlemen. That's the movie that introduced Jigsaw to us, and introduced a concept that would go on for 7 more films afterwards, and they're now working on another one. So where would we be without the first one? So like I said, that wraps up the list. I want to know what you guys think. There are currently 8 Saw films. Why don't you leave below your ranking in the comment section, or let me know what you thought about my ranking. We can have a discussion about it. Also, guys, leave me a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe and ring that little bell next door to it so you'll never miss an upload here at Bloody Breakdown. Also, check down below in the description section where you'll see links to follow me on social media or even support Bloody Breakdown. Because, guys, let me tell you, what we do here at Bloody Breakdown, we have a lot of fun with it. I think you guys are having a lot of fun with it. But supporting us can go a long way, so please, once you consider checking out our Patreon, where there are many different tiers, you get rewards, perks for supporting this channel. Check out our Honey web browser add-on, where you can actually save money and support Bloody Breakdown at the same time. We also have our Amazon wishlist up for some things that we're looking for to improve the general quality of the channel. And I guess that'll be about it for now, guys. So like I said, sound off down below in the comment section. I'm Brandon from Bloody Breakdown, and we'll catch you next time.